Good morning, OroNaz. Travis here, and I want to just offer a couple of words this morning that has been refreshing to me as a reminder as I find myself in the fifth week of Lent. We've been on this journey for some time now, and we're coming into this next week, the final week, the Holy Week that leads us to Good Friday, the cross, and it's important for us to be reminded, and I was so graciously reminded this morning as I was reading a small little excerpt out of James, some New Testament wisdom in chapter 4, verse 6 through 10. Let me just read that to you here real quick and then offer just a couple of things that were deeply encouraging to me this morning. It says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be wretched and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourself, verse 10 says, before the Lord, and he will exalt you. As I read that laundry list, I can become overwhelmed and think about all the things that I'm failing in, because that's quite a list. So many of those things are wrapped around this thing that we call pride. And even in the most sincere heart, and this is what pierced me this morning, even within the most deep and sincere place of my heart in wanting to do these things, I can actually begin to do these things for the very reason of myself and my own pride of being successful, even in serving God. And so what are we supposed to do with that? Pride seems to be at every turn of our journey. And so being on this journey to the cross with Jesus, our pride is apparent. And for me, it has been so much more apparent these last few days. And I was reminded that Lent is a time where I can open myself up on this journey to allow the touch and the light and the life of Christ's perfect example to expose my imperfect impulses and obsessions, even if they look good, even if they are religious, so to speak, it can still expose. And so I was reminded that Lent is not so much about me and my sacrifice, but it is about a turning, a realigning to the very perfect sacrifice of Jesus Christ, his tremendous generosity, his grace, and his love. You see, right before this passage, James is offering this wisdom, and he is giving warning about how our lives so easily can bleed into the lives of a worldly paradigm and perspective. And right before this, he talks about that these things, and I left that out intentionally, these things are possible because God gives more grace. Right before verse 6, he says that God basically makes this possible because of his abundance in grace. I look at the cross and the life and the death and the resurrection of Jesus, and I think this is a tremendous example that is unparalleled, because the gift that Jesus gives, that God gives through Jesus, is actually the same as the giver. It's one thing to receive a gift from someone as a tangible, objective reality. It's a whole nother thing when the giver is actually the gift. And that is what Jesus is doing. And so I'm realigned yet again this morning to remember that the only reason that I can love is because I've been loved first, the gift and the giver. The only reason that I can sacrifice my life is because a life has been sacrificed for me in Jesus. Do you see it? The gift is also the giver. And the list goes on and on. You talk about humility. You talk about serving. You talk about joy. You talk about hope. You talk about peace. You talk about perseverance. All of these things are made possible, not just as a object, right? But as a person, the gift and the giver. And so I pray that this morning you might spend just a few moments before you get on to the busyness of your day and all of the things that are before you, and reflect on that list from James in James chapter 4, verses 6 through 10, and start with that short phrase that God gives more grace. And that grace is in the form of his life as the giver. It's a powerful, powerful thing. This Saturday night, we're going to be starting just a little bit early for our Holy Week times together. There's some special things that are happening. Saturday night, we're going to be joining together in the fellowship hall for a make room night of prayer and worship as we prepare our hearts for the 6th Sunday of Lent, and then as we move into Holy Week. And then I want you, and we've been making these announcements, but I want you to put on your calendar right now, Friday of next week, which is Good Friday, the 14th of April. We're going to be having a self-guided Stations of the Cross journey where you walk with Jesus through 10 different stations. It's going to be in our sanctuary, and it's going to be on a come and go basis from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. It takes about an hour to go through. So as you come, maybe on a lunch break or sometime during the afternoon or early evening before 7, you can expect about an hour. An exciting thing as well is we're going to have both a booklet to follow through this experience and journey and walk with Jesus for adults, but also a simplified one for children that are reading age or older. So we're excited about that. I want to invite you to that. So put that on your calendar. I'm looking forward to worshiping with you on Saturday night, and then on Sunday at our normal time of worship, and then the next week on Good Friday, April 14th. Lord be with you all as we finish this journey to the cross with Jesus, knowing that he is the gift and he is the giver. Amen.